Welcome back. So, as at now, this is what we have in our first section. So let's add a little more styles to adjust this image and adjust this text, this H1 and this paragraph. So over to our CSS, I had more styles. Now, transform bees, class of transform business. Remember that there are two divs inside it. This is a div, and this image is also in the second div. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give each div 50%. That is, you div, this first div, take 50% of the whole section. The section is covering the whole page. So by default, this div is taking 100%. This div is taking 100%. That's why they are not aligned. So when you set each of the divs to 50%, so this first one will take half of the page. Then this second one can also take half of the page. So I gave both of them the same class of transform bees, and I gave each of them a width of 50%. Next, the product choice 2. Product choice 2 is the second div, the div that has this image. Product choice 2. I'm giving it a padding now of 5M. So 5M at the top, bottom, left, and right. Let's save for now and see what we have. This one is going to come smaller now because we've already defined it. Can you see? It's taking 50%. This guy is also taking 50%. And because this image is so big, it is even overshooting the div. So let's still proceed. Now that image itself, the image, we're going to make it a square, the same width, the same height of 30 m's. Align self center. We want it to be aligned to the center of the div. Remember, the image is the only thing inside this div of product choice 2. But the first div by the left, business transform, we have the button, we have the H1, and we have the paragraph. So now dealing with the second div, now the image inside, we're adjusting the size, and we're setting the align self property to center. So I save, and trust me, it's going to make sense now. I refresh my page, and I think it is already in place. So if I'm not mistaken, this is already looking like what we were intending. Let's see the original again. So this is the original, and okay, the original is similar to what we have. This is the original, the image, and this guy. Can you see? We are very close, if not the same. Just like we have here, the button has the same effect, and then everything is just there. All right. So next, now, I think we should be done with that section. Now we're going to this next div, this next section here, and that is this one. WhatsApp business. Just this one is inside the section. Remember I said that we wrap this guy inside the span so we can give it an underlying property. So let's look at what ID we gave that section. First of all, in our HTML, we are done with product choice. Now this is the next section. Large to small, LG to SM, 2SM. That's the section ID. And inside of it, we just have the H6 and we have the paragraph. Inside the paragraph, we have that span, this spanned text. So let's start with the div itself. Of course, width of 100%. You should cover the whole screen. Background color this time around to white. You know, we've been having green. We've been having green-like background colors, but this time around, background color should be set to white. Height, automatic. Display, flex direction set to column because we want to arrange them from top to bottom. There are just two things there do, but just top to bottom. Flex wrap is turned on. Justify content center. Okay, this justify content is not going to work. Actually, it was a mistake. Justify content works only when you set the flex direction to row. So setting my flex direction to column, this justify content will not work. It is align content that I'm supposed to use. And I'm sure that I must have anyway, it's one of those mistakes. It's normal to make so many mistakes. All right, now, so just ignore, and you don't add this line of code, or you can add try the align content, or you can just remove it totally because it's obviously not working. If I remove it right now, nothing is going to change. So I have a margin top, that div, I have a margin top of 10M. I want some space, between this, the last div, it ended here. I want some space here. Currently ours is, can you see there's no space? So that's why we give it margin top. We save and see what we have. I refresh the page, loading, and can you see we have the space now? The background color, nothing is looking different except for the fact that there's now some margin top. So let's now style the content of the div. Okay, the H6, we are giving the H6 text align set to center, opacity 0.8, and width we want it to occupy the whole div. This H6, it's going to be a little, it's not going to be as dark. Let me show you. I showed us before. Can you see that this one is not as, this black is not as black as this one? So there's some opacity property on it to make it less of the original color. Okay, that's for the H6. For the paragraph after it also, color set to black, text align also set to center. We're not giving this one any opacity. The font size set to 3.3 m, and then the font weight 400, semi bold. Padding left and right so that there can be some kind of, spacing. If you look at this, there is space by the left and by the right. That's the padding left and right. So let's save now, and that section should be fine and totally in place. Okay, we'll refresh our page, and can you see it is just as close to what we have here, except for the fact that we don't have this underlying property yet. So in our CSS, there is a span. The span inside this ID of LG2SM are giving it text decoration set to underline, and text decoration color our usual light green. So save, and let's see what we have now. Okay, all right, it is there, not totally like the original, but it is very close. I probably should have given the span some. Okay, let's just leave it like that. It's just fine like this. All right, now I think we are done with this section. So the next section we are going to is this. We are getting to the interesting part. I love this part. We're going to this part now, this section. So in the next video, we're going to deal with this section. See you in the next video.